Hello, dear students. Welcome again. Today we are going to do parts to modernization, part 3, and we're going to study about China. The question of how to regain sovereignty, end the foreign occupation, and bring about equality and development. Now, this was a question in front of China, and there were three approaches to this: Kang Youwei, Lin Chichao. These were two very important people. They used traditional ideas in new and different ways to meet these challenges that were posed by the West. Republican revolutionaries such as Sun Yat-sen, he inspired by ideas from Japan and the West. Then the Communist Party of China, CCP, to end age-old inequalities and drive out the foreigners. So we are going to look at these approaches in detail subsequently. The first encounter of China with the West in 16th and 17th, Jesuit missionaries introduced Western sciences such as astronomy and mathematics. Then Britain used force to expand its lucrative trade in opium, leading to the First Opium War. This undermined the ruling Qing dynasty and strengthened the demands for reform and change. Now, this is what we know as the opium trade. Now, Britain bought from China tea, silk, and porcelain. These were things which were very popular in the European world. Now, Western goods did not find market in China. There was nothing in Europe which China felt that they would need to buy. So now Britain had to pay for these goods in silver, which was actually not a good arrangement because that meant a lot of silver from Europe, from Britain flowing into China. So this disturbed the balance of trade. So the English East India Company looked for another option and they found that now India was a British colony at that time, that opium which grew in India could be sold in China. So they sold this opium which was grown in India in China and they regained the silver which they had spent in buying tea, silk and porcelain. So this was the triangular trade involving India, China and Great Britain. The ideas of Qing reformers such as Kang Youwei and Liang Chichao, it initiated policies to build modern administrative system. They also set up a new army and a new educational system, set up local assemblies to establish constitutional government. They also saw the need to protect China from colonization because this was the time more and more countries were being colonized. The partition of Poland, the rule of East India Company in India also influenced Chinese thinkers. So much so that by the 1890s, they came to be using a term called to Poland us. That means instead of saying to partition us, they used to use this term called Bolanwo, which meant to Poland us. So Liang Chichao criticized Indians for being cruel to their own people and subservient to the British because the Britishers were ruling in India under colonial rule, and many of the Indian people who were under the British rule and under the instructions of the British carried out hardships on their own people. So that was criticized. Confucius, of course, we all know, has been a very important thinker of the Chinese people, and his teachings are almost like a religion, Confucianism. And this developed around 551 to 479 is the time period, BCE. Disciples of Confucius was concerned with good conduct, practical wisdom, and proper social relationships. So these were the three very important points to be remembered, that they believed in good behavior, good conduct, and practical wisdom. So whatever in their day-to-day dealings, they need to be wise and maintain good relationship. with the people around you. Now, it influenced the Chinese attitude towards life, provided social standards, and laid the basis for political theories and institutions. It was now seen as a major barrier to new ideas and institutions. So, there was a clash in these new ideas and this old thinking. Foreign education also influenced China and its people. Chinese students were sent to study in Japan, Britain, and France, and they brought back new ideas that they saw in these countries. And when they came here, they also became leading Republicans. The Chinese borrowed even Japanese translations of European words such as justice, rights, and revolution. In the year 1905, the centuries old Chinese examination system that gave candidates entry into the elite ruling class was abolished. Sun Yat sen was a leader of the revolution in 1911 and 12, and he is credited to have overthrown the Manchu Empire and established the Republic in 1911. He is unanimously regarded as the founder of modern China, Sun Yat sen. He came from a poor family and he studied in missionary schools. And in these missionary schools, he got introduced to the idea of democracy and Christianity. He also studied medicine and was greatly concerned about the fate of China. He came forward with a program called the Three Principles, and these principles of Sun Yat sen were San Min Chui. So, the first principle was nationalism, which meant overthrowing foreign Manchu and some other foreign imperialists to have a nationalist rule and overthrow foreigners. The second was democracy, establishing a democratic government chosen by the people. And third was socialism, where they believed in now regulating the capital and equalizing landholding so that the difference and the gap between the rich and poor should not be much. They wanted to bridge this gap and so that everything is available to all the people. There are not no very rich people or very poor people. So that was the idea of socialism. On May 4th, 1919, an angry demonstration was held in Beijing, and this demonstration was to protest against the decisions of the post war peace conference. Despite being an ally of the victorious side led by Britain, China did not get back the territories seized from it. So, this protest now became a movement. It galvanized a whole generation to attract tradition and to call for saving China through modern science, democracy, and nationalism. Revolutionaries called for driving out the foreigners who were controlling the country's resources and remove all the inequalities and reduce poverty. They advocated reforms such as use of simple language in writing, abolishing the practice of foot binding, and the subordination of women, equality in marriage, and economic development to end poverty. So, the old customs and traditions that were leading to subordination of women, which did not give freedom to people, they wanted to do away with this. Now, foot binding is something which we take a look at in this picture. You can see there are typical type of shoes which are worn by these Chinese to make their to make their foot small, and a 3-inch size of the foot was said to be very ideal. So it was the foot was compressed in such a way that it does not increase in size. Now, just like in England, Victorian England, the tiny waist was something which was sought after, and everybody wanted to have a very tiny waist. So they used to, tie straps and belts around their waist to reduce the size and not let the waist grow. Then in India, we have had the dark skin is looked down upon, and everybody tries to apply fairness creams. Same way in China, uh, to make the foot size small, they used to follow this foot binding technique. China after Republican Revolution of 1911, Kuomintang, the National People's Party, and the CCP, that is the Chinese Communist Party, emerged as major forces, and they were striving to unite the country and bring about stability. The National People's Party, known as Kuomintang or Kuomintang, Sun Yat-sen's ideas became the basis of the political philosophy of Kuomintang. But besides that, they also identified four great needs, and these four great needs were, like we talk of food, clothing, and shelter, they also talk of clothing, food, housing, and the fourth thing that they've added is transportation so that the people can easily move. After the death of Sun Yat sen, Chiang Kai shek emerged as the leader of Kuomintang. Chiang Kai shek launched a military campaign to control the warlords and to eliminate the communists. He advocated a secular and a rational, this worldly Confucianism. He tried to militarize the nation and also encourage women to cultivate the four virtues. Now, these four virtues were chastity, appearance, speech, and work, and recognize their role as confined to the household. Even the length of hemlines, how long their garment would be, was prescribed. The Kuomintang social base was in urban areas. Industrial growth was slow and limited. Social and cultural change was helped along by the spread of schools and universities. And in the year 1902, Peking University was established. Peking was the old name of Beijing. Journalism flourished, reflecting the growing attraction of this new thinking, and the popular Life Weekly, which was edited by Zhao Taofin, introduced readers to new ideas as well as to world leaders such as Mahatma Gandhi of India and Kemal Atatürk, the modernist leader of Turkey. Rickshaw Puller, it was a novel, and a woodcut image also was made, and this was a novel by Lao She. It became a classic. Then Buck Clayton was a black American trumpet player in Shanghai. He had great sympathy for the plight of the Chinese because he himself was a victim of racial discrimination, so he could understand their problem. The Kuomintang failed, and the reason for its failure was its narrow social base and its very limited political vision. Because the Kuomintang also ignored the peasantry and the social inequalities, and it tried to impose military order. Then we'll look at the rise of Communist Party of China. Japanese invaded China in the year 1937. The Kuomintang retreated. Long and exhausting war naturally weakened China, and as a result of this, prices rose and it destroyed the lives of ordinary people. They could not afford to buy the basic necessities in the market. Rural China faced two crises. Firstly was the ecological, that is with soil exhaustion, deforestation and floods. And the second was the socio-economic, which was caused by exploitative land tenure system, indebtedness, primitive technology and poor communication. The Comintern, or the Third International. The Russian Revolution of 1917 led to formation of USSR. Russian leaders Lenin and Trotsky established the Comintern, or the Third International, in March. Now it's made up from the word communist and international, so Comintern. Third International in March 1918 in Moscow to bring about a world government that would end exploitation. The Comintern and the Soviet Union supported the communist parties around the world, but they worked within the traditional Marxist understanding that revolution would be brought about by the working class in cities. Its initial appeal across national boundaries was immense, but soon it became a tool for Soviet interests, and finally in 1943 it was dissolved. The Chinese Communist Party, or the CCP, was founded in 1921, soon after the Russian Revolution. Mao Zedong, who emerged as a major CCP leader, and his success made the CCP a very powerful political force, and it ultimately won against the Kuomintang. Now, Mao Zedong and communists camped in Jiangxi in the mountains to secure from Kuomintang attacks from the year 1928 to 34. Then a strong peasants' council called Soviet was organized, and it was united through confiscation and redistribution of land. That means land was taken away, confiscated from those who had excess of it, and redistributed to those who did not have. So Mao stressed the need for an independent government and army. He had become aware of women's problems and supported the emergence of rural women's associations. He promulgated a new marriage law that forbade arranged marriages, stopped the purchase of sale of marriage contracts, and also simplified divorce. So that means marriage would have been through the choice of the individuals and not really arranged by their parents. And if somebody did not want to remain in an unhappy marriage, a divorce was made simpler. Mao Zedong conducted a survey in 1930 in Junwu to examine the nature of exploitation and also advocated ways of solving the social problems. Now, look at this map which shows the Long March. Now, this was a military retreat undertaken by the Red Army of the Communist Party of China to evade the pursuit of the Kuomintang army. And this march started from Jiangxi in the southeast to Shanxi in the northwest, and it covered about 6,000 difficult miles. And in their new base in Yan'an, they further developed their program to end warlordism and carry out land reforms and fight the foreign imperialism. And this won them a very strong social base. During China-Japanese War 1939 to 45, communists and Kuomintang worked together. But after the war, Kuomintang was defeated and the communists established themselves in power. Communist Revolution of 1949 established an establishment of the People's Republic of China. Civil war between the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) and the National Party or Kuomintang broke out immediately following the World War. Kuomintang was defeated and People's Republic of China was established on 1st October 1949 by Mao Zedong. Now, dictatorship of the proletariat, this term was used by Karl Marx to stress that the working class would replace the repressive government of the propertied class with a revolutionary government and not a dictatorship in the current sense. So that's all for this session. Thank you everyone and have a nice day.